Hey guys, and welcome back finally to another episode of the Diamond Discussion podcast. Alongside my co-host Joe, we have decided after long deliberation and constant back and forth and we're going around in circles, we have officially added Ben to the Diamond Discussion roster. He is now a fixture here. We've noticed that whenever he's been on as a guest, we've had a lot of success and a lot of feedback. You guys seem to love the episodes. And we were trying to figure out what exactly we were doing with the podcast, and this was the only thing that makes sense. So for our Spotify and Apple listeners, we do apologize for the long hiatus. That was what we were doing because Diamond Discussion is now blanketed and sponsored by our media company, JBM Sports Media. So we were just trying to figure out the best way possible to get this, to make the best product and best content that we possibly could. And this was the only thing that made sense, and it works, and this is what we wanted to do. Also, to our Spotify and Apple listeners, if for some reason you want to see the three of our ugly faces, you could easily just shoot on over to YouTube, JBM Sports Media, and you could actually see us do this live, or not live, but you could actually see our facial expressions and our reactions to everything, and not so much being just voices behind the mic now. So we have now upgraded to a new platform, and we are trying to grow. So here we are back again. Guys, it is great to be back. And also one thing I'd like to address. No, I am not dead. No, I am not living in an RV somewhere down by a river, thanks to these two clowns. So I just wanted to address that. Listen, it's the wintertime. Work picks up very big for me. And on the other side of it, I'm going through a little bit of personal matter, but all is well. Everything is fine. Everybody's okay. And yes, I am alive. I am living and breathing, as you could see and hear. So, guys, take it away.
Well, we're very happy that you're not living in a van down by the river. There was a lot of rumors swirling around that you were permanently in a van down by the river. I don't know what river, if it was the Hudson or where you were at. So I was a little nervous. So I'm glad that you found your way back.
Yeah.
Bro, obviously, it's obviously, it's great to have you on board with Diamond Discussions now. Obviously, we're all three of us are co-owners of JBM Sports Media. So, like Rose said, this just makes sense for this marriage to have taken place. So, I'm actually excited that this is going to be, a segment under JBM, just trying to grow this company. So, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think me even getting the opportunity to be in Diamond Discussions is a great honor. All the times that we've been in there, we've displayed great chemistry all around. Like Mike said, great feedback from all those episodes. And the fact that now that we could be seen on YouTube talking about these topics, I think is absolutely incredible. Obviously, me and JB, while Mike's been on hiatus, we've been on a great run on YouTube. So if you guys want to check out any of those amazing videos, our NFL playoff predictions just went live. Go check that out, JBM Sports Media. But yes, Diamond Discussion, it's an absolute honor to be involved. And like I said, it just felt right. And I think Mike and JB, the fact that they came together and said, this is the route that we're going to go, incredibly grateful for.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm ready to go. And obviously, we got some, big things to kick the show off with. Obviously Edward Cabrera being, finally traded to the Chicago Cubs today. To be honest with you, when I first saw this, guys, I don't know how you felt, but when I saw for a first prospect, prospect, number one prospect in Owen Casey and Christian Hernandez rounding out as the number 11 prospect, I was kind of shocked that they gave up something that valuable for a guy who's kind of oft injured and who's been a 3, maybe a 4 starter at best. I do know he's got 3 years of control. He's young, so it makes sense there. And he's obviously a cheaper option salary-wise. I wanted to see what you guys felt about what Chicago was able to, obviously give up in return for Cabrera. I think it was a little bit too much, but just wanted to see where you guys sit with this.
I completely agree with you. I do think they gave up a little bit too much. We've alluded to this in the past. I know I've touched on this. If you guys go back to the trade deadline of last year leading into this offseason, it seems that the pitching market is just the price tag is through the roof. And I think this trade proves that point. I know the Yankees were in talks with them a little bit. It was reported that they weren't close. The Mets had made contact, and a few other teams have, basically dipped their toe in the water to a situation like this and to try to land the likes of Edward Cabrera. And listen, he's a very solid, very good young pitcher. He has a lot of potential and a lot of baseball ahead of him. So this could end up being a huge trade for the Cubs if Cabrera does find who we all thought he might have been when he was coming up through the ranks. He does have nasty stuff. He really does. He has electric, nasty stuff. But like Jay said, I think this was a little too much. But in the same regard, I think this is just where we are with the starting pitching market. I mean, this is why no trade happened at the deadline. The price tag is literally through the roof. You could see it right in front of you.
Yeah, when I first saw that this trade was getting finalized, not when it was officially finalized, but earlier in the morning, there were rumblings and talks that it was going to get finalized, at least by the afternoonish. And when I did see, I was at the gym, I was just very surprised that the Cubs were willing to give up on Owen Casey, more so because I know they're most likely not going to bring back Kyle Tucker. If not, I'm probably certain that they will not be bringing back Kyle Tucker. And I thought Owen Casey was going to fill that spot in the outfield. So seeing him go to Miami makes me think the small sample size he had while he was with the Cubs when he got brought up, was there something that they didn't like? Was there something that they saw and they were all like, maybe this isn't a long-term piece for us that we're more okay with moving more than a guy like Matt Shaw, for example. So I think to me in my head, it just wasn't clicking there in Chicago and they were okay to move him. Christian Hernandez, number 11th prospect, and then Edgar De Leon. I mean, those are two pieces that, the Marlins would hope works out with. But I think Owen Casey for them is the big piece that they want to add in that outfield with Marseille and Stowers. So even for the Marlins, I think this is a very, very good move. I think knowing where they're at right now, they competed all the way to the end of the season for a wild card position. If they could do that again, and they got Fairbanks in the offseason as well, we didn't really talk about it, but they're making some additions. They're doing a very good retool going on right now in Miami. For the Cubs, obviously, me being a Brewers fan, I'm very, very upset more so because I was hoping that the Yankees would land this guy and he would not come to the Cubs. I'm a very big fan of Cabrera. When he's healthy, obviously, he has his injury concerns, but when he's healthy, he is a dog on the mound. He has nasty stuff like Mike said. And the fact that now he's going to be pitching at Wrigley, that atmosphere, that environment is always incredible. I think it's a major plus for the Cubs, to be honest with you. JB, I'll throw it to you real quick. How do you feel more so? I know the Yankees were in talks a few days ago. A report had came out. How do you feel that it just didn't work out for the Yankees when it came to a guy like Edward Cabrera?
So, I mean, I don't know if this is exactly what happened, but I'm going to guess since the Marlins received what they received, that if the talks did intensify to the point where Cashman was throwing out, potential players and prospects to be involved, I'm sure the Marlins included, Spencer Jones and I don't think George Lombard was probably floated around. He was probably untouchable in a trade like this, but I'm sure Spencer Jones was definitely highlighted, as the main piece to be traded, and maybe another pitching prospect would have been added in there as well. Maybe the asking price was just too high, and the Yankees felt like for a number 3 or 4 starter, they didn't need to go that route. It's not something that they desperately needed, but yeah, they do need a little bit of help because Cole comes back in June and Rodon is coming back in May. So yeah, they could use a starter, but I don't think trading that much for just a short period of time makes any sense. Because you still have Clark Schmidt that's coming back. So
right.
What do you do? What do you do with him? And now you have Cabrera that's kind of like tying in the middle of your rotation. So I think the asking price was probably just too high for the Yankees if the talks did get that far.
Yeah, I actually want to point this out real quick for our YouTube listeners. The Yankees were never close for Cabrera. Shout out Mike Blankenship. He said they put Spencer Jones on the table and Miami farted on the phone.
I mean, what else would you offer? What else would you offer, though? I mean,
right.
I wouldn't get mad at Miami for asking for Spencer Jones, and I wouldn't get mad at the Yankees for saying no, because I do think that you could get a little bit more for Spencer Jones. He could be involved in a better package for someone that's a little bit more valuable than a guy like Edward Cabrera. But to each his own. I do think that at some point Spencer Jones is going to get traded. I'll say that. I do think it's going to happen, but I do think for a package like this, it might have just been too high.
Yeah, I agree with that. I could even see it from the Mets' perspective. I mean, if that's what the Cubs gave up, and Spencer Jones was potentially on the table for the Yankees. As far as the Mets aspect, I know they checked in with the Marlins. I mean, you would have to imagine that they asked about Benj and Jet Williams, and I mean, how far were the Mets really going to go for that? I mean, they could probably potentially make a package with those guys for, I don't know, maybe a guy like Peralta, who's out there, if they really want to go for it, maybe I don't know. I mean, this is crazy to me, but seeing what Miami's return was for Cabrera and his name has been floated around. What could Cincinnati's return package be for a guy like Hunter Green, who's been there's been trade rumors about him. I mean, this is what Chicago had to give up to get him. So if there is a trade partner out there for a guy like Hunter Green, who's similar control, and I think we could all agree probably has a little more talent than Cabrera. He's been healthier. He's looked good. I mean, last year he was a front runner for the Cy Young before he got hurt. So if that's the case, he's on a relatively team friendly deal. I mean, his asking price is going to blow through the roof compared to this. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this just, again, I think this just goes to show that the starting pitching market I think it's the craziest I've ever seen in a really long time.
Yeah, and not for nothing. I think with Miami now, I think it's a short thing that they trade Sandy Alcantara at the deadline. I think if they're out of it, by the deadline, and they're not really making a push for the wild card, I can see Alcantara getting traded because look at what they got. They got, like I said, a number 1 prospect and a number 11 prospect for a guy who's not a number 1 starter. Sandy is viewed as a number 1 starter, maybe a number 2 now due to injury and some setbacks, but he's a more frontline starter than Cabrera was. So if that's the case, could you imagine if he has a great first half, but the Marlins are out of it, and the Marlins say, we're just going to retool our entire team with these 2 guys, considering they got such a big package back from the Cubs. So, I think personally, watch out for that. I think Sandy gets traded at the deadline. I think that could open up the floodgates a little bit in Miami.
Yeah, honestly, I could see that. The only thing that would scare me in a situation like that is if they are competitive and if they are around like 500-ish, kind of like they were last year, like just a competitive ball club that, is still in the thick of the race all the way until the end, which I think they really can be. I mean, I've been very impressed with a lot of the player development there. Connor Norby as well, Xavier Edwards, Agustin Ramirez. Like, they've had great development for these players, and they have still some solid pitchers. Yuri Perez, obviously. Cabrera's now gone, but now adding their main piece in this trade, Owen Casey. It's a lot of promise for Miami this upcoming season, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you know what? To piggyback off something else too. I mean, we see now the depths of this pitching market and what's potentially available or what's being asked of teams to make deals happen. I'll say this. This is going to ride high maybe for the offseason and maybe into the trade deadline. And if we have a season in 27 or the offseason, however that's going to play out. But for the sake of the argument, let's say everything is fine, everything is good, and we're going to have a 2027 without question. In my personal opinion, this market is going to keep climbing. And eventually what goes up must come down. This market is going to crash at some point. But when is that some point? Is it going to be towards the end of this offseason, which we're approaching now? I know we have a ton of free agents left, but at what point does this market kind of come back down to earth? Because it seems like right now, to me, it's kind of like that guy on the team that you expect maybe to hit like 260, and he's starting off the season hitting about 365, 370. So at what point does he come back down to earth? And that's my question to this. When does this pitching market level out and kind of come back to normal? Because I think this package was way too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's not even just the pitching market; it's the entire market itself. I mean, it's been handcuffed. I mean, if you want to take a look at it, like in the Yankees' perspective, I think they're handcuffing the market due to Bellinger not signing, and I think that's going to dictate what Tucker gets. To be honest with you, I don't think Tucker's going to go first. I think everybody's waiting for the chips to fall on Bellinger because they think Bellinger's going to be the cheaper option, and he'll go first, and then follow suit with Tucker. But with the pitching market, it's just going to really depend on what these teams want to do contract-wise and years-wise. It's not really about the money anymore. It's more about the years. And these players really feel like they'd rather take the high AAV with the shorter years. That's what the organizations want to do. But the players, they would rather the years and the less money, honestly, or get the best of both worlds and try to get both the years and the money. But personally, I think it's, like you said, Ro, this lockout looming is definitely something that is definitely affecting it. Because it's going to eat years. It's going to eat years on a contract without baseball being played. So that's definitely a negative. And like I said, I just think these organizations don't want to go 6 or 7 or 8 years. I think they're just scared and they'd rather pay more money for less time. And I think that's where a lot of teams sit. if you look at the Mets, they've been interested in a lot of these big names, and they don't want to go more than 3 years. They didn't want to go more than 3 for Edwin Diaz. They didn't want to go more than 3. Even though they didn't offer Pete anything, I don't think they would have want to go more than 3 for Pete. They offered Polanco 2. So if you kind of see with where they're trending, they don't really want to. They're not comfortable with giving 5 or 6 year deals either. And like I said, they just came out with a report saying that the Mets were interested in possibly offering a 3 or 4 year deal to Tucker with a higher AAV. And I'm genuinely convinced that this is where most of the market is going to head.
Yeah, I think this is hurting the players at this point because they are itching for that long-term deal, and there are, maybe some teams that are willing to do it. I mean, listen, Baltimore did sign Pete to a 5-year deal, and they seem to be the only team willing to go to that length for Alonso. As far as Diaz went, he ended up signing the same length as what the Mets were offering with the Dodgers. They went a little more money. My personal opinion, Diaz wanted to play somewhere else. And you know what? At the end of the day, take your fandom off the table, take the emotions of it off the table. That's part of the business. And you know what? He has earned his stripes in the league. He's been around for a while, and he had every right to do what he did. He's a free agent. He could do whatever he wants, and that's take the fandom off the table. He's, it is what it is. As a fan, not necessarily happy with him, but that's neither here nor there. And like you said, with this market with now Tucker and I mean, look, Bregman's another one. The same thing as last year. He's another guy that I had said this on previous shows that, Bregman was going to be the guy. I thought he was going to be really one of the only guys that was going to be stuck out there this late. But here we are. We got Tucker. We got Bellinger. We got Bregman. We got a lot of the pitchers still out there in Framber and Ranger Suarez. We have a lot of some real deal talent still sitting there. And it's, we've just started January and, you're hearing rumblings, but nothing is falling. And I think it's because these guys want long-term contracts. I mean, it came out, Bellinger wants 7 years. Framber wants 6. This guy, they want the long-term deal. And I understand that. And a team like the Mets that, like Jay said, they don't want to go past 3 years with a lot of guys. They'll maybe touch the 4th. Maybe they do listen, to them, if they get a 3-year deal and they offer Tucker opt-outs after every year, they know he's not reaching the end of that deal. So it doesn't matter. So are they willing to give this guy essentially maybe a 1-year deal for a $40 million AAV, 45? I mean, how high are they willing to go? Clearly, money is not a thing with Steve Cohen. It's years, and that's the philosophy of this organization now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think when this report came out earlier today by Will Salmon and just looking at Tucker's market currently, everybody thought in December after the report that came out, he visited the Blue Jays facility, everything like that it was only a matter of time before he signed with the Blue Jays. And since then, it's been very silent when it comes to Tucker. And I've been a little bit confused by it because I would have thought he already would have signed by now. 100% sure I would have already thought he'd been signed by now. But now looking at the pivot more so, that a potential could be that the Mets could offer him maybe a 3-year deal, really a 1-year deal. Obviously, he would opt out most likely. I think that could be something that he might be interested in. And a lot of other teams could possibly go that route as well. Maybe a smaller market team as well. Who knows? But, I mean, Salmon did know that the Blue Jays are willing to go longer than 4 years for Tucker. It just depends how many years exactly and what the AAV will look like. I still think he does end up with the Blue Jays. Deep down, I think that's going to be the team he ends up with. Obviously, we've seen the rumblings about Bichette. It's seeming more unlikely that he returns to Toronto. There's been rumors about Bichette, possibly Yankees, Red Sox. I mean, all over the place. Even Cubs I've seen. So I'm just a little bit confused right now. This MLB free agency has been pretty underwhelming / disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously, I don't blame anybody for being this disappointed. It's been kind of, very, very lull and almost boring. There's been everything is a speculation. It's a report. It's a rumor. It's this club is checking up on this guy, and these two have mutual interest, and nothing comes to fruition. So it definitely has been very frustrating. And we all thought Juan Soto, his free agency was frustrating. That lasted literally a month, if that. And this is we're going into month 2 now, where there's still top of the line free agents that are still available, which is kind of crazy. And I wanted to ask you guys both this. Ro, I'll start with you. Do you think it's kind of? I'm not sure if I heard this from Ken Rosenthal or Bob Nightingale, but I did see a report saying that it's going to be Bellinger who sets the market rather than Tucker setting the market. I wanted to see if you guys were actually surprised that that could be something that's a possibility.
If you would have told me that in late October, early November, even mid-November, I would have said no. That's kind of crazy. But the way this market is now materializing, that's where it seems it's headed. Because I mean, there's been a lot more rumblings about Bellinger. There's been a lot more teams interested. There's actually been offers on the table. I have yet to see. Maybe I'm missing something, guys. I'll say this in the comment section: Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I mean, you guys can let me know. I haven't seen any reports of anybody offering Tucker anything. Just teams are
No.
willing to do this. Teams are willing to do that. I haven't seen an official offer. As far as we all know, Bellinger's got minimum of 2 offers, and both of them are from the Yankees. So I think you're 100% right. I think Bellinger might be the one to set this market. And like I said, if you would have said this to me in early November, I would have said you're crazy. Like, where did that come from? But this is where we are now. And before we move on to Ben, I know I just mentioned about the comment section. I'm going to do it again, like I always do. My Diamond Discussion people, you know my spiel. So now I'm bringing it over to YouTube. If you guys agree or disagree with anything we've gotten to up until this point, specifically this topic right now, Cody Bellinger, is he going to be the one to set the market? Hit us up, light us up in every comment section we have, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Let us know your responses. Let us know if you disagree with us or agree with us, whatever it is, or your own take. Maybe somebody else out there is going to set the market. So we'd love to hear that from you. Ben, what do you got?
I kind of agree with everything you just said. If you tell us late October that you would be at a point where Bellinger is going to be the one that set the market, I would have said you're crazy. I would have said you're nuts. But at this point in time, I mean, you said it best. There hasn't been a concrete offer out there for Tucker at the current moment that we know of, at least that we know of. Could be on something underneath the table. We just don't know. But the fact that Bellinger, it seems like the Yankees are basically bidding with themselves right now, at least the 2 reports that have come out. Obviously, there's been interest by the Mets, the Angels. I believe the Cubs even checked in. The Dodgers, there's been some interest in a reunion
And
there.
the Pirates too. The Pirates checked in on Bellinger today as well as what I heard.
Wow, that's cute. I mean, look, I mean, I got to be honest. When it comes to Bellinger, I think as every day that goes by and goes on, I think it's just a little bit more unlikely that he returns with the Yankees. That's just my personal opinion. I do like that the Yankees are standing pat and firm on the 5 years. I think that is totally okay. I think that's the way to go, because if there's a team that goes 6 years, don't match that. Did the Yankees, and I'll throw this question out to JB because it's an honest question. I saw a video before coming on this and obviously recording this. Did the Yankees kind of in a way screw themselves a little bit with the Grisham qualifying offer being extended with that
Yes.
under $300 million cap hold, or 304, I think it is?
Yeah, it's a 304 cap hold. The threshold. Listen, it doesn't even matter, in my opinion, that Grisham signed. Right? Is it wrong? Yes, they should have never extended the qualifying offer to him. He's going to have to replicate literally the same season that he did last year for it to feel that it made any sense of sense. But honestly, I really don't think that the Yankees right now are they're in a good state. I really don't. It's kind of mind-boggling to see that they're kind of just waiting for this big chip to fall before they address other needs of the team. So I am a little concerned, definitely. Bellinger may not come back. Maybe that's true. I also did see another report that he does want to stay in New York, but that he wouldn't mind LA because he liked his time in LA. So I don't know if the Dodgers would want to have a reunion in that regard, but if the Yankees don't get Bellinger, where's the pivot going to come from? I think they should have kind of been a little bit more aggressive rather than being on the outside looking in and trying to see how everything is going to play out when they could have just controlled their own destiny. So we'll see what happens. I guess in my eyes, if they don't have something done by February 1st, the team is definitely is in some trouble.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think reality is I think Cashman tried to get slick, tried to get a draft pick out of Grisham, and it kind of blew up in his face.
Yep.
But See, anybody could sit here and rip him apart for even offering this qualifying deal to him. We all said, the three of us, I think collectively, did not think that Grisham, coming off the best season he's ever had, was going to settle for a 1-year deal regardless of money. So I think even us, and listen, who are we? We're a couple of boneheads with a podcast. But in reality, the three of us never would have thought that he would have taken a 1-year deal. And I'm sure the executives and a lot of baseball probably felt the same way. So it backfired, so it's easy to rip Cashman for it. But in reality, it wasn't a bad decision because I don't think anybody expected him to really do that. Coming off a career year, you're gonna take another prove it deal going into a lockout. I mean, I think that was nobody saw that coming. So it necessarily wasn't a bad move, but it's a bad move because he actually accepted the offer. I will be fair and be nonpartisan. I'm not going to sit here and rip the Yankees apart for that when in reality, I don't think it was a bad baseball move. But I do think now this has hamstrung them just a little bit because now they're clogged up in the outfield. What are they going to do? And that's $22 million that, Hal is basically making it known he doesn't want to go crazy with his wallet. So that's $22 million that could have been allocated in other places and maybe collectively made the team just better overall with a piece here, a piece there, because they do need some, they still need some work. It's not like they re-signed Bellinger and everything is all fine and dandy. I mean, let's be real here. The AL East, every single team has gotten better. And essentially the Yankees are staying stagnant. If that's the case, me personally, I mean, yeah, I understand they're getting Cole back, but they're missing 2/3 of their rotation or a third of their rotation for the first month, roughly month and a half, bearing no setbacks. You're looking at a situation where every team around you has gotten better and you don't have the studs of your starting rotation to start the year. You could easily be in a major hole come the end of April. So what are they doing? And this is why the Grisham thing has somewhat hamstrung them because they, like I said, they could have allocated this money into a bigger place of need, maybe up the offer on Bellinger, given Tucker something that he might consider coming to New York. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go. And like you said, what is the pivot if, let's say, Bellinger goes to the Dodgers, the Mets, maybe back to Chicago, maybe the Giants come in and swoop in. They haven't really thrown big bucks at anybody yet. And we're all, I think, expecting them to spend huge again. And they've kind of been quiet for the most part.
You'd have to go to Tucker. You'd have to pivot to Tucker. I mean, what else are you going to do? Do you want Jason Dominguez to be a left fielder again? Are you going to call up Spencer Jones? I really doubt it. And there's other reports I'm sure you guys have seen where the Yankees are so quote unquote obsessed with adding a right-handed bat. Well, if you're that obsessed with adding a right-handed bat, then how come you haven't added the right-handed bat? And not for nothing, you don't lose any trade piece, prospects. If you go out and get a guy like Bo Bichette, it's all about money. Go figure that out. Put him at second base. I say go try to trade Ryan McMahon if you can. Split the contract with the team if you could eat some of that deal and get rid of him. If you could keep Jazz, that'll be great. But if not, maybe you have to trade Jazz and maybe you can get a pitcher, by trading Jazz, and maybe have him headline a deal. But if you're so obsessed with getting a little bit more right-handed, which Cashman is right, they are definitely a little too left-handed happy. And if you wanted to fix that, then go fix it instead of being so stagnant and waiting too strategically to go make a move. I'll just never understand it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Whether and depending how they pivot, it's obviously on Bellinger. I think in our OG YouTube video, on our MLB prediction video, I had Bellinger going back to the Dodgers. I'm going to stand pat on that. I do believe, the West Coast is intriguing for him. A reunited factor as well comes into it. I don't know. I just feel like as the days go by, I don't know if I could see a reunion with him and the Yankees. Yes, it's totally possible, but are the Yankees going to go that 6 year if it comes down to it? I just don't see that happening, to be honest.
I could see a 5th year. I could see 5 years with maybe a 6th-year team option. Maybe somehow he agrees to that, but I don't see them going a full 6 guaranteed. No,
I don't either. I think they're maxed out at the 5 years. I don't think they're going to go above and beyond it because I know they really like Bellinger and they would obviously want him back. Why would you offer a contract to a guy you don't want back? forget the qualifying offer. That's a different story. But legitimate investing money in a guy like Bellinger, offering him a 5-year deal. I think it was roughly what, like 140, 150. That's
between 150 and 160. They said.
Okay, so that's what's been put out there. So you're not going to offer that to somebody that you obviously don't like and want back on your team. But do they love him enough to maybe go above and beyond? I'm going to say I don't think so. In all honesty, it doesn't look like it. Because listen, regardless of how the Yankees have been over the last couple of years, maybe the last decade, when they actually do want somebody, for the most part, they get them. They go out and get them. A guy that they do absolutely love, they don't let slip away. It seems Bellinger's, it'd be nice if we had you. We could live without you. That's kind of where that's in my mind what I see and what I feel out of them. I'm going to be honest with you guys. With all of these names, the Bregmans, the Tuckers, the Bellingers, I'm at a loss because where is their market? Where is it? I know Bellinger's is heating up. The offers are starting to actually come in now. We don't know what's been offered behind closed doors that we don't know about that hasn't been reported. But in reality, like I said, I'm just at a loss. I feel like at any given moment, a team could just say, you know what, this guy's still out there. Like these guys, we're in. And a team like the Giants or Detroit comes out of nowhere and says, you know what, forget these guys. Here's the 3-year, opt out every year, monster AAV. Let's go take a run at it.
Right.
You know, we're not gonna Detroit, for example. We're not gonna move on from school. We're gonna put all our chips into this one basket for this 1 year, see what happens, and if it blows up in our face, it blows up in our face. I could see that being a thing. And surprisingly enough, the Pirates have been one of the most active teams this entire offseason.
Yeah.
Do they finally pull the trigger on somebody? They've been spending. They finally gave out a multi-year deal for the first time in almost in a decade. In a decade, they gave out a multi-year deal to a free agent, not just re-signing like, you know, a guy like McCutchen or anything like that. A free agent, they gave a multi-year deal to. So I don't know. The tides hopefully are turning in the right direction where some of these teams are willing to spend. So I don't know. You know what? I wore the jersey. I rag on the team all the time. I do. I rag on them because it's just so upsetting because, I mean, this is a Clemente jersey. That's how storied this franchise is. And it frustrates me that this is where they have now ended up. To a point where the Pirates have not signed the guy to a multi-year contract in 10 years. I mean, so maybe a team like that jumps into the mix for one of these big guys. Why not? Go for it.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. I mean, there was a report that came out by Ken Rosenthal yesterday, I believe it was. I saw it yesterday. I think the next pitcher on the trade market that is immediately going to get impact interest right away is Freddy Peralta, my guy. Ken Rosenthal and Will Salmon both said they expect this guy to be moved. They don't expect him to be with the Brewers by training camp. So I think that's obviously, you know, it's very sad for me to even hear this. But looking at what Cabrera just got, even though it is a 1-year rental, that $8 million, it's only $8 million. I think that's going to be intriguing to a lot of teams, even not just big market teams, small market teams. The teams that Rosenthal and Salmon mentioned were the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Braves, and the Red Sox. Basically all big market teams. I mean, I guess the Braves aren't really a big market team, but they spend too. So there could be underrated teams also underneath the table, maybe the Tigers, maybe the Royals, the A's even, the Orioles, something like that. But what are your guys' opinions on Freddy Peralta most likely being the next name traded?
I mean, for a guy like Peralta, I could see the Yankees. I'll speak on the Yankees. I could see them, potentially giving up a little bit more for a guy like Peralta. If the Brewers asked for Spencer Jones, I could see them agreeing to that. I would be okay with that. He's a front of the rotation guy. He's somebody that you could keep. He's got obviously the 1 year of control, and then he becomes a free agent, and he's cheap for this year. It's only $8 million, like you said. And I think honestly, whoever trades for him probably has a really good shot at re-signing him. I think he'd fit great in New York. Obviously, I think he'd be a really great addition. And honestly, to the other 4 teams on this list, the Mets, Dodgers, Braves, and the Red Sox, it would be a great addition for those teams as well. I mean, obviously, the Mets, they need a starting pitcher probably more than anybody on this list. I think, honestly, I'm talking about like a true number one. They don't have a true number one right now. And obviously, if he goes to the Dodgers, we're just talking about MLB The Show on rookie mode at that point with that rotation. Obviously going to the Braves would bolster their rotation and that make them a formidable opponent in the NL East. And the Red Sox, obviously, with they adding Sonny Gray and they already have Garrett Crochet, that would be a pretty lethal 1-2-3 punch. Going out with Brian Bello there as well. So. This is something that I would like to see the Yankees do because, you're on the back end of Cole's contract. He's got 4 years left. Rodon's got 3 years left. This is somebody that, I could see frontline the rotation. So getting him now would make sense, and hopefully you could lock him up in the future.
I'm going to be honest. I could necessarily find the reason for every single one of these teams to add a guy like Freddy Peralta. The Yankees, like I had mentioned earlier, they're going to be without a couple of their big weapons at the top of their rotation for the first, like I said, roughly month and a half. The Mets, like Jay said, the team I root for, they need a frontline guy. They need somebody to maybe step in front of McLean and, not put a ton of pressure on this kid and let a young guy, essentially be the ace of the staff. They do need a number one. That was part of their downfall, last season. The Dodgers, I'm not even touching it. Goodbye, go away. Just stop, hang up the phone. The Braves, I hate it. I would hate Freddy Peralta to go to the Braves. I would hate that move because the Braves kind of shot themselves in the foot last year. They were riddled with injuries. Their team underperformed, and they did not look good. I don't need the Braves to continue to get better. So let's push that one out. The Red Sox does make a ton of sense. I could see that move becoming a thing, and maybe this is a thing where if we saw what Miami got for Cabrera, what could the Brewers actually get for a guy like Peralta? Now I understand the years of control is different, but a guy like Peralta could easily, in most of these rotations or some of these rotations, be a true number one. The Red Sox do make a ton of sense to me. Listen, outside of the team that I root for, the Mets, I hate every option on this list. Like, why couldn't the Pirates or the Tigers or a Seattle Mariner, why couldn't it be one of those teams? Why does it have to be my team and everybody else that I don't want to see this guy go to? Because he is a true number one. Ben knows it. Ben sees this guy pitch. I've always liked Peralta. I always liked his stuff, and I thought he's one of the more underrated, overlooked pitchers, especially in the National League. Could it be that he's pitching in Milwaukee? I think that's a shame because the talent is there. He's always on the field. And when he is, he's got amazing stuff. He's a solid pitcher. I hate this move for everybody else other than the team I root for, if I'm being honest. I mean, let's add the fandom to it.
Now, bro, what do you think? What do you think the Brewers could get back, bro, in return? Is it going to be a 4-for-1 maybe? Do you see like a massive haul, or is it going to be maybe like 2 or 3 guys where the more high end prospects?
If I could be honest, for everybody that's still here listening to this episode, little spoiler alert, the past few episodes or videos we've done on YouTube, me and JV kind of been off the rails. So what I'm about to go through and what I'm about to say right now about the Brewers and trading Freddy Peralta, it's not going to be family friendly. I'll be honest with you guys, just giving you guys the PSA, but I'm upset. I'm pissed. This is dumb as shit by the Brewers. $8 million. You guys can't keep a franchise guy for $8 million and possibly extend a guy like this, knowing how important he is to the clubhouse. Look at me. This is bullshit. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it as a Brewers fan. It's horrible. Every time we have a franchise guy, and I feel like this guy is the epitome of a Milwaukee Brewer. He loves the clubhouse. The energy all around. It's unique. You haven't found a guy like this that rocks the Brewers jersey with so much energy. He talks so great about Milwaukee. Look at the relationship he had with Bob Uecker. And every single time, I didn't feel like this when it came to Corbin Burns, if I could be honest. The reason I feel like this when it comes to Freddy Peralta is because how genuine of a good guy this guy is. I'm not saying Burns isn't, but I've seen this guy. I've had a conversation with this guy in person. Brew Crew SW on TikTok, my profile picture, it's me and Freddy Peralta. That is my dog. It's going to hurt so bad that the fact of the matter that the Brewers are so cheap, they can't even try to extend this guy. It's just so mind-boggling how bad small market teams in baseball are ruining everything. And I hate that big markets get the blame because it shouldn't be like that at all. I'm a fan of the Brewers. I'll never switch up. It just hurts so bad because I know this is what's going to happen. Rosenthal's reporting it. Salmon's reporting it. It's going to happen. Regarding JB's question, I'll answer that in a second. I'm just pissed. I'm just absolutely pissed that it's even come down to this point. To my opinion, a franchise icon. And yes, we haven't won nothing. But this guy's an all-star. This guy, what he does around Milwaukee, just the energy. I mean, if you look at and go to a Brewers game in Milwaukee at American Family Field, and you go around the ballpark, everybody's looking at Freddie. He's waving back to the fans. He's genuinely such a good guy. This is a guy that every team, every one of those teams in the list, and maybe teams that aren't even on that list, will love a guy like that in their clubhouse. I'm just so upset that another offseason is going to come by, and we're probably going to lose a pillar of our franchise. And yes, I'll call him a pillar because that's what he means to me. To JV's question, what would the return look like? I would want a guy at least in the top 3 and in somebody's prospect system, at least, and then maybe also in the top 10, maybe 1, 2, and then, I don't know, throw in a jobber. I don't care. I'm just upset. Like I said, it's just horrible that this always happens to us because I don't think that the fans deserve this. If anything, getting eliminated and getting embarrassed by the Dodgers, and you think we deserve this? Bullshit, bro. Sorry about that.
I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that the Brewers would get rid of anyone in their pitching staff, to be honest with you, because I thought they pride themselves on pitching. And then on top of that, like you said, like you've alluded to, bro, you know, Freddy Peralta being such a staple to that organization, I really thought that they would make him a mainstay. And $8 million seems like it's so cheap. They probably got that in their sock. I mean, it doesn't matter how small a market of a team you are. $8 million is nothing. I mean, you know.
Well, I don't know if we got it in our sock because our owner's stealing sand from different beach houses. So I don't know if we honestly got that in our sock, if I can be quite honest. I don't know.
Listen, that's for another episode. But I'm just very surprised that this is even actually coming to fruition. That it's seeming to get more. It seems to me it's going to be more true and true and true and true as the days go on. So I'm just really shocked that they would give up on you know, a pitcher of that magnitude.
Well, if I can, I mean, this is the Brewers' MO. This is what they do. They constantly recycle talent. They, regardless of what a guy may mean to the organization or the fan base, they put the business first, and this is the way they operate. This is, you know, like Ben said, you know, they are a small market team, and they don't want to spend big. And when they have the opportunity, similar aspect to like the Tampa Bay Rays, towards the end of a contract, especially with a pitcher, they will dump the guy off and try to get some talent and try to retool as they are competitive still. And they're trying to just continue the cycle. So I do, from the business standpoint, I do understand it. Ben, listen, I do understand your frustration as well. Listen, we all know what's been going on with the Mets all offseason, and, you know, with the Alonso and the Edwin Diaz and the Brandon Nimmo's and the Jeff McNeils. I get it. It's obviously a little bit different, big market, small market team, but I do understand it. It is very frustrating. The fan base act, you know, the fandom in you. I understand that. It's very frustrating. On the business side of it, I do get it. And like you said, I think anybody that does pull off this trade, if he is traded, is going to be very happy with what they get in return, regardless of what they have to give up. Now, the only thing, I think this is why a guy like Cabrera maybe got, you know, the return that he did, is because of the years of control and the cheapness of his deal. So I think that played a role into that aspect. With Peralta, I actually think the Brewers are going to get a little less than what Miami got back in return for Cabrera. I don't know what that could look like in reality. I mean, Ben, what you'd be willing to accept as a Brewers fan, you know, I also understand it, because I don't think, regardless of what you get back, let's be honest here, I don't think you're going to be happy, because you're losing a staple to you. One of your fan favorites, a guy that you look forward to going to see at the ballpark, and I do understand that. So, you know, regardless of the package, I know regardless, you know, the talent could all be there. You're going to be frustrated and upset. I get that. Before I do maybe jump off of this topic, guys, I just want to remind you again, to all our YouTube listeners, to all our Spotify listeners, and Apple users, listen, we're talking about Freddy Peralta now. Where do you guys see him ending up, and what would be maybe a reasonable return for him? So we want to hear that from you. Drop it in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on the Freddy Peralta aspect and what we're dealing with. Is Bruce crash out, you know, viable? Is it, you know, you guys understand it? And also, if you guys can answer this, I've been gone for about 2 weeks dealing with work and personal matters, and now we're having crash outs and yelling bullshit all over the place. I love the energy. I do. I really do. I'm glad you guys are we're doing this. This is great. So I do love that. I love the energy of that. I love the fact that you're showing your fans side of this. Not a lot of people that do these podcast things. It's either that's their personality, they yell and scream, or they're pretty calm. And Ben, you kind of have the combination to do both. So I thought that was fantastic, guys. I want you guys also in the comment section, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, rate Ben's crash out. Was it good enough? Should he have thrown something? I don't know. The YouTube fan base might have enjoyed that because they could actually see it happen. So I don't know. Rate the crash out for Ben. We're trying to have some fun. And I'm trying to lighten the mood because I'm trying to bring Ben back down to earth and him, coming to the realization that maybe one of his favorites.
Real quick. And just to finish off the topic, this wouldn't even have happened if I could be honest. This Freddy Peralta trade wouldn't even have happened. Just like Grisham and that qualifying offer, if Woodruff didn't accept that $22 million qualifying offer, the Brewers wouldn't be in this financial problem. 22 mil. We're poor. I don't get it.
Bingo.
I don't get it. This guy, like I said, I have his jersey right here. People that are watching on YouTube, it's a signed jersey of him. We had conversations. He actually responded to my Instagram DM. This guy is such a good guy, a genuine good guy. It's going to be so upsetting. But if the return's right, obviously I'm open-minded, more so a business standpoint. But yeah, let's move on, please, before I have maybe a heat stroke. I'm getting hot.
Oh, that is spectacular.
I can't even blame him though. It's hard. It's super hard. It's super frustrating, especially you win so many games last year. You win the division by 8 or 9 games. You get to the the NLCS. Obviously, it didn't work out, but this team looks like they're right there. And to say that you want to get rid of your ace, it's kind of hard. Usually, you want to get rid of your ace when you win 60 to 65 games a year, and you realize you're not going anywhere, and you can get a big return, and you could retool your team that way. But it's not really a lot of retooling for the Brewers. It's more of just adding some pieces in some places, for them to be, competitive. And I really can't believe that this may actually be something that we see, that Freddy Peralta, his days are done in Milwaukee.
Yeah, listen, like I said, this is the mindset of the small market team. We've seen this done time and time again. They just did it again. The Tampa Bay Rays, they recycle pitchers constantly. The Shane Baz deal that just went down, 2 weeks ago. We've seen this multiple times from them between guys like James Shields and David Price and Chris Archer. That's the Rays model. They do that all the time. And Milwaukee has always been known. They produce pitching. They do. Let's be honest here. They really do. They really produce pitching, like Ben had alluded to earlier. Woodruff is a guy that's come up through their ranks. Corbin Burns was a guy that's come up through their ranks. Freddy Peralta was a guy that's come up through their ranks. So they do recycle very good pitching. They made some amazing trades in last year during the season, well before the deadline. They picked up Quinn Priester and basically revived his career and brought him back to life. So when it comes to the pitching aspect, the Brewers know what they're doing as far as developing and keeping their guys. So again, and this is the reality, and this is what us baseball fans, this is what we have to do. We have to have those crash outs, and knowing that maybe your favorite player may not be on the team anymore, and you're going to be pissed off, and you're going to be upset, and you're going to be emotional, and you're going to want to throw things and yell and curse and scream. And on the other side of it, you have to logically make sense of the situation and think, well, why did my team do that? What is the reality? What is the vision? What is happening? And this is sometimes what it is. In all honesty, this is how it goes, and this is the battle that we do face: the fandom, and then trying to find the logic and seeing the business aspect of it. And if you guys on YouTube watching Ben and his face and his demeanor and how this all played out, guys on Spotify and Apple, you have heard it. Reality, that is the battle of fandom right there. I don't ever need to explain it ever again. If you need to understand what fandom is and being a true baseball fan, what Ben just did is actually spot on, nail on the head, with constantly going back and forth and understanding what it is, but you hate it. But, so not to beat a dead horse, but that is unfortunately the reality.
And I may be right with him, and it may be actually even uglier if the Yankees don't do anything. I might have a crash out of the ages where you might actually have to call 911 while the episode is recording. So stay tuned for that, because like I said, I have 3 weeks till my deadline hits. So
Well, I have an RV down by the river. You could do the podcast in that episode, the episode in there, and throw and break whatever you want. So that could work out.
as long as you have like a first aid kit where I may need to treat myself, I'll be
bubble
fine.
wrap the entire place. You'll be fine. I'll put you in a sumo suit. I will bubble wrap the whole place, dude. Go nuts. Pretend like it's a crazy house and it's your rubber room. Do what you got.
And I appreciate you trying to protect me. You give me a rubber room and a sumo suit. I appreciate the love there. But
I got
it. To move on, speaking of pitches, obviously we've had Tatsuya Imai signing with Houston. Where did you guys see this? I really, honestly, when this happened, I had no clue that Houston was even a player for a guy like Imai. It was Yankees, it was Mets, it was Cubs. I think the Red Sox actually happened to be flirting with the idea of Imai. I really, truly didn't see Houston come out of, they came out of left field with this one. He does sign a 3-year deal, but essentially it is a 1-year deal because his opt-out's attached to this entire contract. The AAV was pretty relatively fair as well, and he pretty got a high AAV for someone who hasn't logged a major league inning yet. I believe it was 21 mil. Guys, I'll start with you, Brew. How do you feel with Houston really coming out of left field and swooping up Imai? Obviously, this is the writing is on the wall. It looks like Framber is probably as good as it's gone now that they went Imai. But how did you feel when you saw that Houston had landed Imai?
I was shocked. One, I was shocked. Two, it kind of confirmed one of my superstitions, obviously, in this offseason. It's that, what happened to Murakami as well, that 2-year deal. Basically, his market didn't materialize. If we could be quite honest, it just didn't materialize at all. When the free agency period started and when he got posted, we were thinking 100 mil possibly. We were thinking maybe a little bit more. Who knows for a guy like this? Longer deals, maybe 4-year, 5-year, something like that. And his market just did not materialize how he wanted it, just like Murakami. I was just like, it's a good move for the Astros. I'll say that. It's a good move. They needed a guy like Imai in that rotation. We're going to see. Is this guy going to translate well to the MLB level? I don't know. I'm 50-50 about it, to be honest. I'm not going to say 100% yes. I'm not going to say 100% no. We'll just have to wait and see. I think it's a good move, a good low-risk move for the Astros. Props to them.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think Jay and Ben, you both hit it nail on the head. This move came out of nowhere, and I kind of, teased this a little earlier. I think this might be the trend of the offseason. I think it's going to be the teams that do come out of nowhere that weren't reported, that we weren't seeing, because we constantly keep seeing the same teams over and over again connected to all the same players, or at least, like we mentioned earlier, the Mets and the Yankees and the Dodgers with Bellinger, and the Mets and this one and that one with Tucker and this team on this guy. Okay. And look at all the rumors that swirled around Imai, and look at where he ended up. The team that came out of nowhere and just swooped and said, you know what, this guy's really still out there. His posting date is coming. Let's go get him. Let's go get him. We've had enough watching this. And I think that's part of what Houston did. And also the fact that they did have to replace a guy like Framber, that it seemed, even regardless without this move, that Framber was not going to come back to Houston. I thought that would have been a miracle, or a Hail Mary to bring him back. I think his days in Houston were done, but you'd have to look at their perspective. They had to replace him. This move does make sense. And again, like we've said, this came out of nowhere. And I think that essentially is going to be the trend of this offseason.
Yeah, listen, it's a nice move. I think it's a nice pairing with Hunter Brown, in that rotation. Only time will tell to see how Imai translates, obviously, to the major league game. He's got the speed of his fastball. I've seen reports where he's hit 99 pretty consistently. But it's all about that slider. If he has trouble with that slider, it could be hang him and bang him, if you know what I mean. So that I think he needs to just work on and make sure his breaking pitches are a little bit more effective. But he's definitely has decent stuff, and he was definitely highly touted for a reason. And he had great numbers in Japan. So we'll see how he translates in Houston, because there's also the short porch in left field. You can see a lot of home runs being given up there. So we'll see how he translates to that ballpark, and obviously, playing in America and playing in the majors.
Yeah, and he's not going to be pitching in the WBC, just to let people know. He said he will not be participating in it.
I did see that, yep.
JV, just like you said, that backward slider kind of that he has, like reverse type of slider, if he starts hanging that pitch right there, bro.
Yeah, it's the majors, brother. They don't miss
majors,
that. This isn't Japan. It's They will hang that and bang that all day, and there'll be guys hitting 180 that'll be able to handle that. This is the majors. Even though there's guys that are struggling, that anybody can hit a hanging slider. So if you're going to leave something like that in the zone,
know what's coming.
It's going to be could be a long 1 year for Imai. So we'll see what happens with him.
I agree.
But now to move on to Okamoto. Did anybody see Toronto kind of coming? Listen, they addressed third base. They definitely needed a third baseman.
Yeah.
He's a first and a third baseman. He's a corner infielder guy. I think this would have been a great addition for a lot of teams. I think the Pirates were another team that could have used him. I know they probably wouldn't have gone that far, with years and money, but they could have used him. I think this was a really nice addition for Toronto. I think it rounds out their lineup, honestly, and I think this also has some, implications in regards to Bo Bichette. Where does that leave them? Do they want to go out and spend money on Bo now that they've basically gave Dylan Cease $210 million? They signed Tyler Rogers for $37 million. Now they're in for Okamoto for $60 million. I believe it was 4 for $60.
4 for $60, yeah.
So they're in for some money this offseason so far. So what do you guys think? Ron, I'll start with you. How do you like the addition with Okamoto? He's probably going to be their third baseman. How do you like him in the lineup?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think just overall with Toronto, I think they're another piece away, and it's not even necessarily a big piece at this point, from essentially becoming the juggernaut of the American League, and not just the American League East. They were this close to winning, literally this close to winning a World Series. Guys on Spotify and Apple, jump over to YouTube so you can see what I just did. That's how close they were to winning a World Series, in all reality. And now they have gotten better. They have made some nice additions. They've added Dylan Cease. They've added Tyler Rogers. And now they've added the third baseman. They've essentially replaced Bo Bichette. That's what it seems like to me in that lineup. I love this move. I think Kazuma Okamoto is actually going to be the best player that is coming over from Japan. That was maybe a bold take on my end, but that's who I saw as maybe being the most well-rounded guy coming over, especially in the hitting department. Because listen, as much as everybody do have their struggles, he seems to, like I said, be the most well-rounded. So I really do like this move for Toronto, and like I said, I think they are a piece from being almost untouchable. I mean, listen, there's a reason why we play the game, but on paper, with what they just accomplished in the last season, how do you not pick them to be the favorite coming out of the American League again? They have improved. I've mentioned this earlier. The American League East, every team has gotten better, and I think Toronto has taken the biggest leap forward. This being, obviously another essential piece to their lineup. And overall, like Jay said, like I said, like Ben said, who saw the Blue Jays coming with this guy? I didn't.
Nobody. His posting date came near and no rumblings whatsoever. I mean,
yeah, nothing.
So, again,
which was mostly the Japanese market. Everybody had a day or two left of their posting dates, and then they were signing. So it was basically a 24 hours left, and they're getting deals done. And like I said, the Blue Jays needed to address third base, but I didn't see them in the market for Okamoto at all. So this was a very sneaky move by Toronto. So kudos to them.
Yeah, think about it like this: White Sox, Astros, Blue Jays for the 3 Japanese players. Who would have thought that? Just honestly,
I would have never, especially Houston and Chicago. I would have never seen that coming. I
want to talk to the guy who put that as a 3-leg parlay and won $1 million.
Yeah, I want to see. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this Okamoto signing, I think Mike said it the best. I think this is the more compared to Murakami. Murakami's not going to have protection in that White Sox lineup. Okamoto is going to have a little form of protection in that Blue Jays lineup, especially if they get a guy like Tucker or Bichette back. I'm pretty sure he's going to be hitting maybe 6, 7. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I saw a projected lineup at 7.
I said 6, 7. I'm sorry, guys. I really apologize. Gosh. If you guys would see on YouTube, I just kneel my head in disgust. I apologize.
Yeah, well, we me and Ro, we're not in that era, so this is.
I know. But I think it's a well-rounded pickup for the Blue Jays. I see it as a low floor.
And it's cheap. Too.
Yeah. I think a guy like Murakami, for example, yes, high floor, but very high ceiling, but it could be a very I don't even know how to say it. Never mind. I take it back. I couldn't say it right. Jeez, I'm getting nervous. I'm telling you, I had a heat stroke during the Peralta segment.
He's got a high ceiling. It's definitely a low risk, high reward.
Thank you, JB.
Type of deal for Murakami, especially. It's 2 years. It's $34 million. If the guy hits 25 home runs and knocks in 65, 70 RBIs and can hit 250, 260, it's a win, right? But with a guy like Okamoto, he can actually hit 330, 320. He's actually a contact hitter who can hit for average.
Right.
So that fits the Blue Jays mold. They didn't strike out last year. They had guys that were high contact hitters. So Okamoto fits that lineup very nicely, and I think he could be a problem, especially with him hitting seventh. You got a guy that's a contact hitter that can hit for average hitting seventh. It's that there's not an easy out in that lineup if you really look at it from top to bottom.
Yeah, good move by the Blue Jays. Thumbs up on it.
Yeah, overall, I think all the teams that ended up with the guys out of Japan, I all think they made solid deals. I'm glad to see the White Sox, taking a chance, making a move. That was nice to see. I mean, that's got to be frustrating over there. We just touched on Toronto. This move for them is huge. And if this guy works out like I think we anticipate him to be, if he replicates any of the numbers that he did put out in Japan, this could be a very dangerous thing for the American League. Like I said, I think Toronto is maybe just another piece or two away, some depth at this point in their rotation and maybe on the bench from being a legitimate juggernaut in the American League. And Imai in Houston, I mean, they had a need. They had a starter to replace, and they went and got the arguably the best pitcher coming over from Japan and adding them. So, overall, I think all the teams that literally all came out of nowhere to land these guys, I think, it was a great deal for them and their fan bases. A guy like Jay doesn't want to see Toronto get better. If we have our beefs maybe with Houston, I think we're all getting a little over it now. Shout out to our buddy Froggy. But guys, I will say this. It is amazing to be back. It is amazing to be back on YouTube, and it is more amazing, not more, equally, whatever you want to call it. It is also amazing to be back on Spotify, to have Diamond Discussion up and running again, like we never left. Also, another thing, a little trivia for you guys. Yes, we have not forgotten about the trivia. We are not going to do it this episode. Let's just get us through our YouTube. We had a lot we had to go through. We just watched Ben go through menopause. So, we have to, we have a lot that we have to deal with. But
it's menopause. It's menopause.
But, Diamond Discussion is approaching a full year being on Spotify and Apple. We are getting very close. Maybe we might come up with something as maybe a little year to date. January
19th, I believe, was the first ever episode.
That was the first episode. We have mentioned this a lot. Our Spotify listeners and our Apple listeners, you guys have heard me say this and Jay say this multiple times on Diamond Discussion. Most podcasts don't last more than 7 episodes. They don't get to a 7th episode. We are approaching 40 and not age, episodes.
Well, I'm approaching 40. So.
I was trying to help you. You didn't have to bring that up.
Don't say that, David. Don't say that.
You didn't have to say that. You didn't have to say that. Ben just went through menopause and you're telling everybody that you're approaching 40. I mean, I wasn't trying to do all that, but again, you're good. Guys, this is always fun, and like I said, it's been really frustrating for me dealing with what I'm dealing with work, and like I said, it's a couple of personal matters, but it's fun to be back. I've had such a great time. If you guys could see the bloopers that we will never release to you prior to this episode, absolutely hysterical. I needed that. All three of us kind of messed with each other a little bit and got a huge laugh out of this. This has been great to be back. We have a lot in store for you when it comes to Diamond Discussions and JBM. You guys see what we're doing. We're pumping out content left and right. Ben is kind of the lead catalyst on that. Something happens and this kid is up, putting his pants on, making a video. The crazy part is I don't know why he's putting his pants on, because all you can see is from his neck up. So I don't get it. But that's besides the point.
So, I obviously just want to say I appreciate the opportunity. Diamond Discussions now being involved with it at a full-time basis, knowing the motivation factor 2026 and knowing what this could become. something really special. I'm so excited for the season to start. Obviously, not just covering baseball, but the WBC as well. We're going to be on top of that. There's still a lot of free agents
Absolutely.
that we'll be signing. This is only the beginning. We're back and we're better than ever, baby. It's Brittany, bitch.
Absolutely.
That was amazing.
No, yeah, it's definitely been refreshing to get this back up and running. And like Rose said, sorry for the little hiatus. We were just trying to smooth things out with JBM and make sure JBM was up and running and making sure that's a well-oiled machine. And now that we have this podcast, Diamond Discussions, under the JBM umbrella, it's only gonna balloon from here, and it's only good things from here. So, and I couldn't have it with two better guys. So this is it's gonna be a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just not to chew you guys' ears off, but I mean, hey, listen, you've been listening to us talk for the last hour, so you can give me another minute or two. Not even that long. I will say this: we are going to have some guests join us on this show. Not sure when exactly, but we do have a couple of people lined up that are going to join us. Again, we've flirted with the guest thing on Diamond Discussion. JBM, we really haven't touched ground with that, so that is the next obstacle we will do. We have a few guests in mind that we can't wait for you guys to meet, some real characters, some real crazy fans, and no, not another Yankee, Met, or Brewer fan. We have some others out there. We are friends with other people around baseball that we would love to have up here. And look, guys, the thing I haven't said in a really long time, because we haven't done this podcast in so long, and I didn't know how to incorporate it with JBM, but now that Diamond Discussions is here, I will say it now. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us.